Greetings and welcome back to the garage of the Solenopsis Invicta Mark II. Sans Solenopsis Invicta Mark II, much like the Monkey Lord, it has been disassembled. We have instead got a few blocks which comprise of the entirety of the functional components. So I'm just going to quickly go over what these are before we get to actually starting to recreate the Solenopsis Invicta. But I am going to once again put the disclaimer out there that I'm doing this from memory, and whereas the Monkey Lord, although it was more complicated, it was more visually striking in how it was complicated. You could see most of its working bits and the skeleton, so it was easy for me to kind of summon back that memory of what it looked like and compare it to what I'd built in order to fine-tune how I was rebuilding it. Whereas the Solenopsis Invicta, it was a much larger bot, and although in a sense it was less complicated, it's going to be harder to remember all of the individual curves and smoothing effects I had on it, so it's very likely that this redesign will look slightly different. Okay, and with an epic sneeze out of the way, let us see. So first and foremost, the cosmetic part. The Solenopsis Invicta has a nameplate, a badge, and 2 vapor trails. It actually has a fairly comprehensive E-War suite. It's got a basic alignment rectifier and radar receiver, although this is tier 3, that is the lowest level of radar receiver. However, it has the second level of radar itself, which I believe is tier 5. Let me just double check that for you. It is, yes, a tier 5 radar and a tier 5 radar receiver. Now this gives the Solenopsis Invicta much more information. It puts a lot more information at its disposal for picking targets and where it needs to be in the fight. Oh no, that started up again. However, we have one window, and this time it's actually a window. It isn't a control interface for the pilot. Now, next, the wheels. We have, I believe these are tier 5 steering wheels. Once again, I will check. Those should be tier 5 steerings, yes. We have 2 tier 5, is it? I believe 2 tier 5 guns. Those are on tier for the tier that the Solenopsis Invicta is in. 2 tier 6 guns and 1 tier 7. Now, generally my rule for using components is 1 tier above or 1 tier below. But with the SMGs, given that you can only get your maximum amount of firepower if you have 6 or more, it caps at 6, but adding more than 6 gives you redundancy in case one of them is, or many of them are shot off. I felt comfortable adding a single tier 7 cannon to it. This, in my mind, did make the Solenopsis Invicta an actual tank. It had, you know, it had like machine guns on it. These are the lower tier SMGs, but it had one main cannon attached to its turret, and that's why it was centralized. I thought it made it look quite striking. Now, as for the shields, these are all low tier, so we have 2 tier 4 shields, 1 from each side, and 3 pairs of tier 3 shields. Now, taking level 3 shields into a level 5 match, a tier 3 shields into a tier 3 match, you could question what use would they be, but they, as demonstrated in the video, they do actually absorb a fair bit of damage before getting knocked off, or in many cases they'll just absorb enough damage for me to get out of the fight, and then they'll start regenerating. It actually worked out quite well. It definitely added enormously to the survivability of the Solenopsis Invicta. Now, to the meat and bones of this build. We're going to need a lot of these armor cubes, and bear in mind that I hadn't actually completely made it out of these armor cubes. There were still quite a few green cubes internal to the structure. Not too many, but I had replaced them where I could. However, you will need probably in the realm of like 200 to 220 armor cubes to completely make this out of one type of armor. Maybe a little bit more, because some of it was made out of tier 5 armor. Ideally, all of it should be. Now then, as you can see, with only one of these blocks placed down, I'm already at 633 p-flops. So this is a rather large build. Now, the first part you always want to start with is the skeleton, and if I recall correctly, I think the wheels were about 3 deep. And then the parts of the front were a bit of a beak. So Yeah, let's actually build that out to create the front of the craft. But this is going to be the first wheel there. And then that was brought back. Actually, no. What happened is I ended up... That's right, I remember. I made a little Darwinian, and I paused for a moment and thought, oh, yes, it's a Darwinian. But we actually bring down the second set of wheels is slightly displaced, and this gives a little bit of room in there for the alignment rectifier. Now, honestly, if you had the cubes for it, it would probably be worth building an alignment getting the higher tier alignment rectifiers. Now, the rear wheels are much, much further back. They're set much further back from the front, from the middle wheels than the middle wheels are set back from the front wheels. I think maybe it was a little bit further back than this. Yes, that creates the 3x3 area there where the radar jammer lived. So there we go. And then we had a block sort of area here for the final pair of wheels. Now, ideally, honestly, I think this vehicle would look much more striking if you had much bigger wheels on the back than you had in the middle and the front. But as I only had tier 5 wheels available, well, tier 6 wheels, I suppose, as well, but they're not much bigger. If you had, like, tier 8 or something wheels, they would look fantastic. Huge wheels on the back. You would have to slightly change the design, but I personally think it would be very, very worth it. Now, let's go ahead and place all the wheels. We can place them all at the same time. We'll do this side first, so we nestle the wheels in there. And this gives them a little bit of protection from fire, though we will be building up an actual sort of cage around the wheels as well, just to add a little bit more protection to them, though perhaps that was actually meant to be a little bit further back. Might have been, we'll see, because that actually looks really close. That looks a little bit too close, if you ask me. Yeah, I think this was further back. And as I said, this is going from memory, so this may throw things out a little bit, so you will have to forgive me if I fumble now and again. We'll see. We will get there in the end, though. Now, that is the wheels. I suppose I could go ahead and add a little bit of the embellishing in here to start with. There and there, for example. I believe down the bottom we had just a basic beak design. And around the wheels here, we had... Now, the problem with this is I actually need to build up first. So we'll start with that. Now, I always build up over the top of the actual wheels themselves. And this one will come out a little bit as well. Yeah, actually, I'm fairly certain this was the design that I had previously. By building it up like this, we cover the top. I'm really not sure that ever actually provides any sort of benefit at all, though occasionally I guess it might block some attacks. But what these are for is to create the platform for me to build the actual defensive structure around. Now, if I recall, I built the defensive structure around the wheels out of the pink blocks. I'll do the real ones last. I just want to refresh my memory on how exactly I had these ones set up. Now, I don't yet have any of the smooth components there for the pink blocks, so we'll just have to use these ones. Now, the rear parts were all facing backwards, except for this one, which curved back into the wheel, but that was the only one. And we want these there. They should be 2 deep on each side. Actually, that one shouldn't be there at all. And nor should that one, actually, because this just builds out straight into the rear wheel over there. So get these in. And we're starting to see the cages for the wheels starting to take shape now. And once again, we want some shape to the top here. Not any... we don't want any slopes but there, though, because that leads straight into the wheel behind it. Now we want this one over here. I'm leaving that spot conspicuously clear because that will be for my tier 5 armor. I don't have much of it, but what I do have, I tried to put over the wheels, since they're quite important to keep on the bot, as you can imagine for a tank. There we go. Right, there we are. That gives me the cage for the wheels. Now, with the area down here, the idea with the Solenopsis invicta is that it doesn't get flipped over. It shouldn't be on its back, generally speaking. If it is, it's probably going to die. So I just accepted that, well, yeah, it's going to die if it gets turned upside down. So I took the... I made the decision to not armor it too much at the bottom initially. I'm just coloring this more green than I did on the actual Solenopsis invicta, simply to illustrate what I'm doing. This is the innards of the bot at this point. But we'll have the radar receiver about back here. Perhaps I could even push those back even. Yeah, I think that would probably be a good idea. Let's move those back. That way we can definitely have this nice area here for the radar jammer. Let's grab that. There we go. Fantastic. We will also be having the vapor trails down there, but we'll wait a little bit to build that up. Now then, down the front, we are going to want to start building out the part for the window. Now, where did I put that? I'm fairly certain that I had the actual window on the 3rd tier. In fact, I'm absolutely certain of that. And what I had here was a little bit of shaping, just to give the front of the bot a little bit more character, because otherwise it did lack it a little bit. So let's flop those in there. Also, I seem to recall that I did actually have a bit of a less extreme beak on the Solenopsis invicta. There we go. And there we are. Now, at the front here, we would have... Well... Actually, I believe I just had it fold in like that. There we go. That is actually the shape we had. Glorious! Now, we want the window... Actually, I think I sunk the window back just slightly. There we go. And if I recall, I had that... a little bit further back. Although that may have meant that that was a little bit less protected, I think I chose function over form in that instance. You know me. There we go. I seem to remember this looking fairly similar now to what the front of the Solenopsis invicta is actually meant to look like. Now, back here, we have our radar. I sunk that down. But I will actually go ahead and replace those blocks that will be visible from the top, because that actually makes a lot of sense at that point. Right, we want the radar again. And I don't seem to recall whether I had the radar pointing forward or back. I don't think it would make too much difference on the whole, but it will affect how you can smooth out these blocks in the middle here. If you have the radar pointing forward, you can't do that. So I'll just turn that around there. And I'm fairly certain I just had it come straight down, and it started building into the actual seat compartment. So we'll place some more heavily armored blocks there, and we'll actually place the seat down last. As with my previous build as well, we don't really want to have to deal with all of the blocks that are over yonder turning red, because again, it makes my eyes bleed a little bit. There we go. And at this point, we start building this area up. The seat would go here then. Now, the thing with the seat, and the nice part about this is I should be able to demonstrate it, is the seat should be able to fit in there, but the very rear of the seat will not be able... You can't have anything atop that. Even if I had a block orientated like that. Let me just double check. This should... No? Have I done that wrong? I may have. Let's see. Ah, okay. So this must have been a little bit further forward, perhaps? Yes. Okay. There we go, then. And there. This on top. Yeah, this is what we had. There we go. Right, well, we'll get rid of that. That might have actually even been the way I had it set up. Like I said, running off memory here. And my memory is none too strong these days. There we go. And if we place those there, you can't actually see that there's a gap inside. Yeah, that's definitely how we had that set up. So we'll build up the cage for the pilot seat. Unfortunately, the pilot seat, as you can tell, fairly exposed from the bottom. So really, you never want the rear of the Solenopsis, sorry, the underside of the Solenopsis invicta available for anything to shoot at. I mean, it stands to reason, really, but bears repeating. Now, we want to build out the wheel section there, just to cradle the wheels a little bit. In fact, yeah, there we go. We get the... Or is that going to be... No, no, no. We are 1 too low. There we are. And we do exactly the same on the last one as we did on this one as we did on the previous ones. And that is, we want... Where are you? Some shaped blocks. Now, as I mentioned, on this side, they turn inwards. And I actually think that I did that on all of them. So I'll just go ahead and... Oh, no. Premature. Need to do this one first. And... Oh, no. I'm not going to be able to do that one yet. Need to build up the top first. There we go. Right. Now, that creates the wheel cage a little bit there. I think I may have actually made those sloped blocks as well. We'll have to see in a moment for that. Just finished building up the structure around it, though. Yeah, I'm almost certain that those would have been shaped as well. There we go. Right then, the next part we're going to want is the pink blocks over the top. So we'll just build these out, and then I'm going to have to check how many more of these orange blocks I've got. Not got many left, unfortunately. That is not so good. But there we are. Just connect those. Oops, have I not built that out enough? No, I have not. And then finally add these over the top. Huzzah! Now, this area back there is mostly just going to be hollow, because we need a lot of room for that radar receiver, as you can well imagine. But we'll get to that probably one of the last things we do with this build. First, I would like to get some of these guns onto the vehicle. So, let's grab the front guns, which are these ones. I believe those were built... They wouldn't have been built in the middle. They would have been built bang smack on the sides there. Now, will these fit in the right place? They will. Fantastic. Though, I may have built that section out a little bit in order to facilitate the placement of one of these shields. Let's see. Or did I perhaps... Does this go up? Yes, it does. Where did I have that shield? How did I have it placed? It's possibly the position of the gun that's getting in the way there, actually. No? No, it's not the gun. I recall the gun wasn't there at all. It was back here. That's right. Silly me. Like I said, a little bit harder to remember this craft, so you're going to have to put up with me umming and ahhing. Right, we had that there. No, we didn't. We had that there instead. There we go. Now, we did, however, have a shield coming back to protect this gun, which I believe was positioned about there. No, I don't want to join any platoons. Right, there we go. Now we're cooking with fire. Right, we had a shield then protecting that gun slightly. There we are. And we didn't have an actual slope on that wheel cage to allow us to place the shield. In fact, we may not have had slopes on the rear ones either. Okay. Now then, the next section, if I recall correctly, involved 2 shields. One would have been at the bottom, and in fact it would have been this type to protect the wheel there, and the next one would have been higher up to protect the upper guns. So we'll just place those in there. Okay, the Solenopsis invicta is actually starting to take shape, which I'm very pleased with, as the shape roughly resembles what it should. Should I move that forward slightly? I'll have to have a think on that. I think I may have... Yes, I think that was actually further forward in order to allow the Union flag there to be in the right position. So let's just build this out. There we are. And we'll just go ahead and have that drive straight back like that, so we've got it, still got the sunken... Because I like the sunken slopes. It gives a bit more character to the shape of the bot, in my opinion. Now, up top, we had... I'm going to need some more of those cubes, actually. As this would have been the position for the main gun. There we go. And there we are. Right, we are about 2/3 way through the build. Yay. Let's get rid of the majority of these blocks. We don't need them there anymore, and they will actually interfere with me placing the parts that I need to place sooner or later. Unfortunately, this build is actually quite close to my P-flop limit. Now, the internals here, I'm going to just fill out with green blocks, simply because we're going to start running out of space very, very quickly. Now, how deep is that? Yeah, that's about right there. Next, we want... Oh, no, that's not what we want. We want the vapor trails. Right, the vapor trails, always plop them underneath if you can. Or at least I do. That way they're out of harm's way. They're not going to get in any sort of trouble. We can also shape this section then. Plus, I really like having the vapor trails on the bottom of a car. I think it creates a fantastic aesthetic because it looks like, instead of looking like vapor trails, it looks like they're somehow the tracks of your car cutting through the desert, the Martian desert as it may be. So it's ideal if you can have these in line with the tires in some way, but that is not always possible, I understand. Right, there we go. So we'll just finish off building out the sides there. And this section should largely be made of... we're really cutting it fine now, though. Let's instead work on building up the sections at the very ends. I believe I had it something... Let's see, I think it was something like that. And then it came forward just slightly. Now, the edge of this had an actual sort of dome, a peak, but I did have it sunken in on that side, so again, I'm more or less just trying to remember what I remember the Solenopsis looking like. There are no, like, as I've said before, there are no, like, Lego blueprints that I can follow to recreate it perfectly. So a lot of this is just me trying to recreate the sort of aesthetic feel I had when building the vehicle previously. But I think, no, that can't be right, otherwise that would work. What have I done differently? Let's have a look here. Perhaps this has moved forward just slightly? It could have been. Let me see if that would work. And if we then just slide you forward and replace the shape there. Yes, this is probably what I had previous. Oh no, I've run out of blocks. We knew this time was going to come. Okay, well I've got a little bit of RP, so I'll just sink a few more into buying blocks. And, you know, that'll have the added benefit of actually increasing the Solenopsis invicta's survivability. Big fan of that. In fact, I'll get rid of those now. We know exactly how many of these types of shields we've got, except I'm using the wrong one. There we go. Right, now the gun should hopefully fit there. Yes, there we go. Now we're cooking with fire. Or with lasers, as the case may be. Cooking with lasers is probably quite dangerous. I don't recommend you do it. Unless you're awesome. Right. Okay, we bring this over there. Finally, we are starting to see the shape come back to this bot. Get a little bit more confident about where I'm taking it now. And roll that around there. There we go. Got a nice shape for the gun placements. Though that is still a little bit ugly. So we'll build that out instead. And then... Oh no, really? Have I already gone through all of those blocks? You're kidding me. Hang on. I don't believe... Oh, I have. How crazy. Okay, well, we'll shave a few of those blocks off there. But you can see how expensive this bot is. The amount of high-tier blocks I need to make it is a little bit intimidating. And we still haven't finished building up the rear yet. Unfortunately, it does come out a little bit further. I am actually going to have to buy more blocks. Again. My goodness. Thank heavens that I streamed recently, so I've got a lot of RP to play with. Though I spent a lot of RP in the stream as well. Actually, remembering, I do believe that I had this curve in, and this will be the position for the final piece of the puzzle. The nameplate goes up here. I may have just had this curve in like that, actually. I don't think this is how it looked. I can't remember it looking like that, but as long as it'll work, then I don't mind. And we'll turn that around there. And we are almost there now. The final stretch. And now, will this fit? If this fits, we're finished. Yes! No! Yes! I forgot to get rid of it. Ha-ha! Oh, that... Remembering how to build this, fairly difficult. And we've still got 2 shields to place as well. Don't worry, I didn't forget. What we want for those are these shields, so that it's really important to get them facing turning the right way. Actually, I may have had that built out. You want these to be pointing upwards, but where did you go? Is this gun in the way now? Ah, no, it is. I'm certain this was sunk back, though. Ah, perhaps I put it there. That's right. I knew that was sunk back. Okay, so there were no curved part on that particular, on the front of the wheel cage at the back. But there we go. That is, near as damn it, in my opinion, the Solenopsis Invicta Mark II. Let's check down here. Are there any green blocks? There are a couple of green blocks visible. I've got 9 orange blocks. I'm actually rebuilding this slightly better than before. I always like it when that happens. There we go. Slightly better armor than previously, though it still has a couple of armor level 2 blocks internal to the structure. But all things said and done, that is how you build the Solenopsis Invicta Mark II. I do apologize for my umming and ahhing there in the middle. Like I say, these are from memory, and when I'm trying to recreate something, it's actually a hell of a lot harder than if I'm just sat down and I decide, I'm going to build a tank today, because then I just plod along through it. There's not too much trying to make it look a certain way. I just let my imagination go wild, and if what I have at the end of it actually kills things, all the better. If not, it probably still looks good. But there we are. That's the Solenopsis Invicta Mark II. I do hope you've enjoyed this build tutorial. The next couple of videos will probably be me fumbling around just building and fighting as I usually do. But don't worry, I do have in mind a build tutorial for the I Come in Peace Mark IV. I'm not going to show you what the I Come in Peace Mark IV looks like yet. That will be for a new video. But that is it from me. So I do hope you've enjoyed and will be joining me for the next. But until then, and as always, do take care.